You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next, the April 18th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Works and Safety. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call a meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety to order this 18th day of April 2022. Present are Mayor Dwayne Perry, Mr. Michael Vincent, myself, Virginia Keating. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the hybrid Zoom meeting of April 4th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Support.
A call for the vote. All those in favor signify, or no, let's not do it that way. Okay, Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a request to solicit surplus bids. This is for the 2022 sale of surplus vehicles, rolling stock transit buses. And there's a list of 5 buses. 3 of them are 2013 Freightliners with the following numbers: a Legacy 40, a Legacy 42, and a Legacy 44. And 2 are 2015 Freightliners with the identification of a Legacy 48 and Legacy 50. Do I have anybody who wants to speak about these?
Madam President, Robin Tillman is not here today. She sent me an email saying that she couldn't make it, but as the board may recall, we previously did a notice to bidders on buses. After the bids were all due, several vendors came to Ms. Tillman and said, "Oh, oops, I missed it. Can you please rebid it again?" So I think she added an additional bus, but these buses have now exceeded their useful life, so they're ready to be disposed. And she's again requesting that they be rebid, and all bids would be due by May 16th at that meeting.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from the public? Any board comments or questions?
No.
I'd like to make a motion that we move this for rebid.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is a request to solicit bids. Marty Corley, Michigan City Police Department Assistant Chief of Operations, is requesting to solicit bids for a 3-year lease program for 11 Dodge Durangos police pursuit packages and 1 Dodge Ram 1500 police pursuit package. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Again, like you stated, it's to solicit bids for the 11 Dodge Durango police vehicles and 1 Ram 1500 police vehicle.
Okay.
We have the money in the budget and it's been approved. And so we're looking for another 3-year lease like we've done with the last 8 you guys approved a couple months ago.
Bids, when will they be back?
Bids would be due by our May 16th meeting as well.
Is there any public comment? Public comment? Any board comments?
None here.
I'd like to just ask, I noticed we have Explorers on the force. Is Durango an upscale from that?
Yes, it's a better vehicle for us. We're going to get a better use of it with the lease program. And it should help us with our maintenance budget, because what happens with the police vehicles, usually after about 75,000 miles when we start seeing the problems. And so with our leasing program, we'll be right at that point where we'll be in a position to either purchase the vehicle all out or either start another lease. And so it should help us with our maintenance budget. The Ford Explorers have a lot of problems after the 75,000 mile mark, and we're really there with a lot of our vehicles. And one of the biggest things is when you pull the engine out or when you have issues in the Ford Explorer, most times you have to pull the whole engine out, which causes a lot of problem for our maintenance department. Mr. Harris really doesn't like the Ford Explorers itself because it really causes them a lot of issues with some of the maintenance we have to do on it. And after 75,000, usually our maintenance, our warranty is done with the dealership. So we do a lot of maintenance on those vehicles. So the Durango is upscale, and a lot of departments are starting to do those vehicles instead of the Ford Explorer. And the price point is cheaper also.
Very
Thank
good.
you for that explanation.
Madam Chairman, if I may add for Mr. Vincent's information, a little about the history of this. We were running about just under $500,000 a year purchasing new police vehicles. And in 2020, when it came in office and we found a deficit of $3.4 million, we looked for cost-cutting measures. And this really assists us in our cash flow. It goes down from just under 500,000 to about 150, maybe a little less than that.
Yeah, it went straight up with a vehicle.
And then every year we add more to the fleet as we recycle. So it's really helped us out a lot doing it this way.
Thank you, Mayor. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we approve opening of bids for the Durangos.
To solicit bids.
I'm sorry, solicit bids.
Support.
Then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A good morning.
Next item on the agenda is a food vendor renewal license request. Ron Lantrell, A Slice of Heavens, 425 Ogden Avenue, is requesting to renew his food vendor license that will be located in the parking lot of Brandt's Old Fashioned Feed Store on US Highway 12. Good morning. Would you
Good morning.
state your name, please?
Ron Landtroop, you need my address too,
Please.
425 Ogden Ave, Michigan City.
Thank you. Why don't you go ahead and explain what you're asking here?
I've been there, I think, 4 years now. Just it's time to renew my license. We're not really doing anything differently than done before.
What are your hours of operation now?
We're there from 10:30 until sundown. So as the days get longer, we're there a little later. Right now it's about 8 o'clock.
Are there any comments from the public? Any board questions or comments?
Just one, I'd like to thank Mr. Lantrop, because in the years past, I think we delayed you 1 year because you really like to go just before midnight to get this done. So this year, you're
I
right.
tried to get it in a little early this year because
Thank you.
the license, I think last year's license
We don't
expires
like being-
tomorrow, so I wanted to get ahead of the game for once.
Yes, we don't like being the bad guys. Thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we approve license.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a farmer's market agreement. Terry Greetham, Special Event Director, is requesting approval of the 2022 Farmers Market Agreement between the City of Michigan City, Indiana, and Trabian CBD Incorporated. Good morning.
Good morning. Terry Greetham, Director Special Events. This is a returning vendor for the farmers market, and we'd be happy to have them back.
Are there any comments from the public? Board comments or questions?
None here.
I'd make a motion, we approve the farmer's market vendor.
Second.
We'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Madam President, if I may, I'd like to toot Terry's horn a little bit. Last Sunday was an Easter egg hunt, and it was just an outstanding event. We had almost 1,000 people.
Very good.
It was a team effort. There was a lot of people involved, police, the fire department, park department. So I was a small part of a big team that did a great job.
Okay, Terry, you're going to be here for a while. So the next item on the agenda is a farmer's market agreement. Terry Greetham, Special Event Director, is requesting approval of the 2022 Farmers Market Agreement between the City of Michigan City and Green Trails Flower Farm LLC.
Yes, this is another returning vendor that we're very happy to have back.
Thank you. Are there any public comments, board comments?
None here, man.
I make a motion, we approve this farmer's market vendor.
Support.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item is another farmers market agreement. Terry Greetham, Special Event Director, is requesting approval of the 2022 farmers market agreement between the City of Michigan City, Indiana, and Sarah Tristano, doing business as Juju's Agua Frescas.
Yes, again, another returning vendor. So again, we're happy that all of these vendors are enjoying themselves and coming back.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any board comment?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next is another farmer's market agreement. Terry Greetham, Special Event Director, is requesting approval of the 2022 farmer's market agreement between the City of Michigan City, Indiana, and PEO Sisterhood.
Yes, so this is a returning vendor. They are only a one-day vendor. They'll pick one. They have one day during the season. They do a bake sale to raise money for their organization. So again, a returning vendor. We're happy to have back.
Thank you. Is there any public comment and any board comment?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. I think that's all for you this time. We'll have you back a little later. So one more where? Yes. Something? Huh, I have it on my list. An agreement between sponsorship, oh yes, I do. Sponsorship agreement between the Board of Public Works and Safety and General Insurance Services for sponsorship at the Singing Sands Sculpting Festival held on June 3rd through 5th, 2022 at Washington Park. Sponsorship is at the gold level of $5,000.
Yes, we're extremely excited that General Insurance has come on board. It's another gold level sponsor. So we now have 3 gold level sponsors, 2 more positions to fill. And for anybody out there listening, we still have our 2 elite sponsorships and our primary sponsorship available. But very excited to have General Insurance involved.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Any board comment?
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. I'm sorry that I missed you on that.
That's okay. I'll see you here in a little bit.
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is agreement for the 2022 professional services and agreement between the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety and Servicescape LLC to provide landscaping services, namely for Washington Street, Franklin Square to South Franklin Street, not to exceed $203,932.35. Is there anyone here that wants to address this? Amber, could you? Oh, I see. All right, we got somebody here.
Good morning, Board. Paul Przbalinski, 1716 Washington Street. On this agreement, my question all along was who's going to repair the water lines in the system? Because in the agreement, it only talks about Servicescape inspecting it twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, and repairing the heads on the sprinkler on the system itself. Doesn't talk about, who's responsible for getting the water to the areas, and then who's responsible for repairing it. And I think that's a major thing, because also on Michigan Boulevard on the islands, that I was told that there's a water line that's been busted or needing repair, so it was shut off for a few years now. And I think that if we're going to invest money in these Boulevard Islands, that we should get the water to them, keep the system running, and keep it up. I know there's been a couple years when there was no water on Wabash Street. And if you're going to do it, you might as well do it and get it done complete. And I'm not expecting Servicescape to do it, because I'll probably take a plumber. Now, I did do a little bit of a background on it, and that they were talking about the Franklin Street, the backflow, the check valve system is bad. So it has to be a certified plumber that works on it. So I'm just bringing that up to your attention, because I think that the board needs to get somebody to get these systems up and running. And also to ask the water department to waive their fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber, have you looked at this agreement?
I have, the agreement is for the grass cutting, the weeds, for those services along Franklin, South Franklin, and Wabash. As Mr. Prespolinski indicated, there are some areas that are in need of repair, but this agreement is for just the landscaping, not the repair component. I know earlier this year, we met with Surfacescape and they identified areas of repair, but it's going to require a contractor coming in and giving us estimates. So that's something I think that the administration can look at. And the areas of the boulevard are under the control of the sanitary district and for the repair. And I think that's another discussion as well. But outside of this actual landscape contract, that there are areas in need of repair, but this is just for the performance of the grass cutting, the weed pulling, the trash pickup on that area. And the council has appropriated the funding for this contract.
Is there any other public comment? Any board comments?
Yes, Madam President, I would just to provide Councilman Prisbunski some further information. We're aware that there's damage to the underground irrigation system. The extent of the damage and the cost for repair, we don't know what that is right now. In past summers, we have utilized city equipment to just do surface watering, just water trucks and go by and sprinkle it. First, we've got to figure out, get an idea from estimates how much it's going to cost us to repair that, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to go to that extent, because they seem to get damaged regularly. Whether we're going to go that route to repair or reinstall them, or just continue with a surface watering program. Thank you.
I'd like to just ask a question, make a comment. Has any of the department heads looked at using this funding and doing this work in-house? If it's mowing, cleaning up, would a couple extra full-time employees in a department take care of doing this? Then we could have somebody every day of the week other than certain hours on certain weeks, and to ensure that it's done properly in timely manners.
Well, to date, Mr. Vincent, we don't have the manpower to do that. We looked at that vector control, park department's their plate's pretty full, and vector control, once the grass starts growing, they're pretty busy. We're adding some additional people to vector control this year, but that would be kind of a fallback workforce. We can't handle that at the level of expertise that a lawn care firm does it.
I just see this dollar amount, and it's quite hefty. And I know the easy route for anybody is to outsource something, especially if you can get the funding approved. But using the funding that we're getting approved for outsourcing, if we just transferred that to a employee budget, I'm sure you would get some people to sign up for $200,000 a year to take care of some plants.
Sure. Well, we can look into that.
I can tell you last year, the contract was a little bit less because we tried to do that. And unfortunately, there was constant turnover in the vector department, and it left that department completely understaffed in areas that that were not attended and that were overgrown. So that was part of the reason why everybody sat down and determined that let's have a professional come in so we know that the city looks appropriate in these high areas.
Is it a HR issue? Surfacescape's not having trouble keeping employees, right? Or they have the manning. Why can't we keep manning? That's the rhetorical.
Surfacescape indicated to us in our negotiations with them that they're not loaded with manpower either. That people just don't seem to want to come back to work once the federal government COVID incentives came out and they got laid off. I can't recall talking to an employer in Michigan City that has been loaded with people wanting to come back to work. It's really an interesting, sadly and negatively, an interesting series of events we're going through. They're not, they don't have the manpower much more than, well, that's what they do. That's all they do. So, our people, we have 23 square miles of everything, zoo, parks, planters. Previous administrations really loved planters. They put in an awful lot of planters, and it's hard maintaining them. So we really did take a hard look at that. Any more conversation, I'll certainly invite you to be a part of it.
I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
no problem.
That being said, do I hear a motion?
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is a street closure request. Janet Block, Director of Levisnick Center for the Arts, is requesting the usage of the north end area of You Are Beautiful site and the street closure at intersection of Washington Street north of US Highway 12, Franklin Street from the crosswalk at Water Street headed south around the curve to 2nd Street, and traffic both ways between Franklin Street Shoreline Brewery driveway. The Arts Festival, August 19th, 2022, 8 a.m. until August 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Janet Block, Director of the Besnick Center for the Arts. This request is kind of typical at this time of year. I've had the same request for several years. I did go before the Redevelopment Commission last week and did get approval for the parking on the north end of the You Are Beautiful lot. I have not received the letter yet, but I just asked our city engineer that he said it will be sent or has been. And I have a map for you all. The festival is Saturday and Sunday, August 20th and 21st, but Friday is set up and we do need the street closed to move the trailer and put up the tents and so forth. So, and I also have the insurance. So don't know if anybody has questions or.
Let me ask Captain Lineski, is this the same layout as last time?
Good morning, Captain Jeff Laneski, Traffic Division. Yes, this is the same route as last year. Typically, the street closures do not cost us anything in overtime because our EMA volunteers work the event in exchange for a generous donation from Ms. Block.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any public comment? Any board comments?
My only question as a board member is how did this impact Shoreline's business over those 3 days last year? We try to be fair to everybody.
Oh, yeah. Shoreline's a partner. I mean, they partner with us on many things,
Okay, well,
and we don't block their driveway. They're never not busy.
Okay.
They have a steady stream of business always. And Sam Strupik is a great partner. This year we do, just to point out, there's a difference in that we are going to, it's our 40th anniversary and we are going to have beer and wine.
Happy anniversary.
And thank you. And we hope that we will be able to get some of you to be guest star bartenders for us.
That's good enough for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The next item on the agenda is a request to retire pole aerial service. Brad Minnick, Primera Engineering Limited, is requesting the retirement of on-metered connection to a traffic pole at the northwest corner of Pine Street and 10th Street, an existing aerial service for double track project. Good morning.
Good morning. Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers, 5281 Fountain Drive, Crown Point. This is just another batch of retirements for the NICD double track project. So, got any questions about that?
Okay. Any public comments about the board? Were there any comments?
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a street closure request. Jeremy Rossi, Uptown Social, is requesting a street closure starting at the First Presbyterian Church on 9th and Pine Streets, then heading south on Pine to Washington Park, and return on the same route for their second annual Uptown Social 5K on July 28th, 2022, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Uptown Social. We're located at 907 Franklin Street. And yeah, this is our second annual 5K walk run. It's family friendly, so anyone can sign up. And there's been a slight change. So we do need 9th closed because that's where the race is starting. It's starting right by the Oriental Pearl. And then we will not need Pine Street closed because I spoke with Captain Luneski, and they're just going to use the bike path, the bike route to run on. And then they're going to post like no parking signs in those parking spots. So that way the racers have ample room to run or walk on. And that'll go all the way down Pine, and then they'll turn, go over the bridge. They'll turn right on the lake shore, and then they will cross over to Washington Park, follow Fetter down to Marine Drive. They'll turn right onto Marine Drive, turn right on the lake shore, and go back down and come back the same way they came. So, and then they'll end at the same location on 9th and Franklin next to the Oriental Pearl. So we just really need 9th Street closed during that time, and it's from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m.
Thank you. Captain.
Yes, as stated, we won't actually close Pine Street. We use the bike lane and then the parking areas for the runners. Also, I believe Mr. Rossi is working on getting permission from the park department.
Yes, I have a meeting with them on Wednesday. Ed Shin is totally for it, so we're pretty much good to go with them as well.
We would recommend approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Any board?
I'm just curious, how are the runners crossing US 12?
They'll cross Highway 12 at Pine Street. For this event, we also used our EMA volunteers for this. Then also, Mr. Rossi makes a generous donation to them for working.
Will we be using the traffic signals as timers or the volunteers to
No, we
stop?
will actually close Highway 12 intermittently to let the runners cross.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a contract approval. A contract between the City of Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety and the Michigan City Police Department, Fraternal Order of Police, Dunes Lodge number 75 for the 2022-2024 union contract. Amber, why don't you give us some highlights on this, please?
So the Common Council just recently approved this contract. The Labor Relations Committee of the Common Council spent a considerable amount of time negotiating with the FOP. Some of the highlights of the contract are establishing a lateral transfer program to make it easier to attract qualified officers from other departments to come to Michigan City that may have the experience. So we did establish a lateral transfer program. There are raises as well. I don't have them all in front of me, but there are raises effective this year, and I believe it's a 2% for the next 2 years. But those are some of the highlights that were negotiated. A little bit of changes with some of their specialty pays that we've negotiated. Also, some of their perf contributions where in consideration of getting some of these considerable races, the officers have agreed to, rather than the city fully assume the responsibility of contributing to their perf, they will pick up a percentage of it. So it was negotiated on both sides fairly.
Thank you. Now, I see this is a 2-year contract. Is this the same as it was last year?
It's actually a 3-year, so it would go in effect as of
You're right.
January, and then conclude December of 2024.
Yes. Any public comment?
Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street, Second Ward Councilman and also a member of the Labor Negotiating Committee. And as Amber brought up that we spent a considerable amount of time on this contract, we spent a considerable amount of time on reviewing other contracts from different communities. I think it was either 6 or 8, and looked extensively. Well, I know I did, reading through them to look at contract language and what other communities had. And I will say that I think that we negotiated a very good contract for the police and for the city of Michigan City. We negotiated a 25-year longevity for the retirees. That is also a point to keep them here, and it gives them more money in their payout on their monthly pension with the state. And that was a first, or I believe, I don't know how many. This year was the first year that was allowed, because that was passed this year. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. So previously, the state law had a longevity not to exceed 20 years, and they gave us flexibility of up to 25. And Councilman Prespolinski is correct that we created a 25-year tier to keep and attract talent.
And also that's a good thing for, I believe, to keep people in the retirees, because it does give them a sizable increase in their monthly pension. And I would say that we had some give and take in the contract negotiations. And at first it was not what I would say a fair deal for the city. But the end negotiated contract was a fair deal for everyone involved. And this is why I think that we need to look at the hiring practices in the police and fire department, and that needs to come to a head so we stop the bleeding, because I think that we got a contract that's comparable to a lot of these communities that have what people need to remember, a more assessed value than the city of Michigan City, because they have more money to play with in their budget. So I hope that the council approved this unanimously, and I hope that the Board of Works will do so also. Are there any questions for me?
None here.
Well, I would just like to say that I appreciate the time that you put into it. Negotiating contracts is never easy, and to get one that works this well, I tip my hat to you. That was a good job.
Well, I'll not to me, the whole committee. It was myself, my brother, Councilman Don Prespolinski, and Brian Dadme, Amber LePage, Yvonne Hoffmaster, and Andrea Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any other board comments? And hearing none, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract.
Support.
Call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is the acquisition request of city-owned property. Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District, NICD, is requesting to purchase city property for the purposes of the double track NWI project, 10th Street parcel ID 46-01-31-238-032.000-022 and parcel ID number 46-01-31-238-044.000-022 Purchase price is the sum of $5,500. This has been tabled from our meeting on April 4th. What's the status today?
So if the board recalls, it was tabled from that date because the sanitary came forward and advised that they needed an easement. I believe I see Connor's on as well, but I believe they are in the process of putting the easement together, they being NICD and the sanitary district. And if there's no objection from Mr. Connor Nolan, I would just ask the board maybe to table this one more meeting so that easement could be put in place and executed, and then the board can approve this.
Thank you for that. Is there any public comment?
This is Connor Nolan. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. We would not be able to execute the easement until after the conveyance to NICD. The last remaining item for the easement, legal description is the parcel plat, just reflecting the legal description that the sanitary district has approved for the south 10 feet of the smaller parcel and the south 25 feet of the larger parcel. They can access the storm sewer that's currently existing there.
So Connor, do you believe this needs to be tabled one more meeting, or can the board approve it at this time subject to the easement?
Amber, I think if the board would approve it, subject to the easement from NICD back to the sanitary district as a condition of approval, that would be the appropriate way to proceed.
Okay, I'm fine with that because I know the legal description and survey are being drafted right now.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Any board comments?
Make a motion, we approve this with the approval of the easement.
Pending the approval of
Pending the approval of these.
easement details. I'll second that.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is a payroll docket for April 8th, 2022, a city payroll of $596,908.87, and a claims docket for April 18th, 2022, for municipal of $954,313.47.
Make a motion that the payroll and claims docket for April 8th, 22 on the payroll and April 18th, 22 on the claims docket in the amount of $1,164,387.49 be approved.
I'd like to add to that, I did not include the figures for the CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant of $46,639.71. Health and Life Insurance Fund of $115,859.14. The Workers' Comp Trust of $44,840.62, and the Cemetery Merchandise and Commission account of $5,734.55. And as Mayor states, the total claims is $1,164,387.49. And we have a motion to approve.
Yes.
Second.
Then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Pending items list. We have a number of things on that. First on the pending items list is Donovan Garlitz, 207 Fogarty Street, is requesting to purchase city-owned property between Fogarty and Blaine adjacent to Lake Avenue, parcel number 46-01-221-361-005.000-022. This was I tabled from our last meeting on the for the reason that it needed some review by our legal department. Amber, the status?
So Skylar and York and I have discussed this, and at this time, we would ask the board to deny the request. And that being is the planning department wants to sit down with the city administration and strategically look at some of the parcels of property that we have. We get a lot of requests to sell things, but we don't really have a plan. So we really wanted to sit down and strategically look at everything. Not to mention, whenever we're asked for this, if it doesn't fall under a special exception, we're eating costs of appraisals as well. So, keeping that all in mind, just at this time, we would be asking the board to deny. It doesn't mean we can't bring it back up later. But, we wanted to really strategically sit down and look at everything.
I might just add, Skylar, the Director of Planning, I might just add that the reason being is that we just had a housing study done. We just kind of completed at the end of last year. We really want to think about how we're using these parcels. Do we want them just to be extra yards, or do we need housing? Housing really is a demand right now, and we really want to think comprehensively about that. I believe Mr. President Walensky brought up assessed value is important. It is important in our city. We have opportunities for more housing to be built, then we want to make sure that we're capitalizing. It's not just a vacant lot, which it is right now, but we want to make sure that we're doing that in a comprehensive way and that we're putting the right things in those neighborhoods, because keep in mind, these are in neighborhoods and around other houses. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Garland, did you want to make a statement? Mr. Garland?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I thank you all. More than appreciate the time that you've already spent on this. I would like to just note that not only do I have a home 2 parcels down from there, but I understand and respect the mission of the city and what we're doing, and I am more than willing. My idea is to develop it and not just leave it as vacant land. So I just want you guys to know that as a board, as you do assess all of your lots, that my plan for that is to bring housing, high quality housing there. And whether it be for sale, for rent, or for short-term rent, I do not know yet, but it will be single-family housing according to zoning and all that good stuff. And my goal is to hopefully get 3 or 4, if allowed, depending on setbacks and everything, homes on that parcel at some point after it's split up. So that's just where I'm at. So I want you guys to know that I'm fully in support of the need of knowing that there's a need for housing, and that would be my goal. And I hope to do that quickly too, if you guys, if it were ever to fall into my hands. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I appreciate you guys looking at it.
Thank you. Ward, do you have any comments?
None here, Madam Chair.
And do I hear a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion to deny this request.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the pending items list is Tara Ramirez, 703 Neha Street, is requesting to purchase property owned by the City of Michigan City, located next to their property, parcel number 46-01-226-426-002.000-022. This is also here for status.
Madam President, again, this explanation would be the same as Mr. York and I provided. We would ask just to deny at this point because we wanted to sit down and look at this as a bigger picture and what the city lots are, and because there's another city lot right next to this one that they're seeking to buy. So like I said, it really requires us to sit down as a team and look at the bigger picture here, and rather than just willy-nilly putting things out for sale. And like I said, the assessed value of this lot is higher, and we'd have to get appraisals anyhow. So again, we just ask at this point to deny. It doesn't mean we can't go back later and put it back up, but just at this point to deny.
Is there any public comment here?
Good morning, Board. My name is Norman Ramirez, 703 Neha Street. The reason why we wanted to this purchase, if possible, over the last 10 years, we have been having the problem of trash and people driving through that lot. So we are the neighbors to the right and to the left of that lot. And for some reason, there's a dead-end street on the other side, and people just started driving through there. All kind of vehicles. They stay there overnight on the weekends, and we have to pick up every week pretty much from tires to trash cans to bottle cans to beer cans, all kind of stuff in there. Even fish heads we have been picking out of there. It's very, I mean, the odor is really bad. And we think that, over the last 10 years that we have been taking care of these, might as well develop that in the future if we could get it. So, and I understand, precisely what you're talking about, housing department and, housing for people and the lack of houses and all that stuff. I'm totally clear about that, and that's our purpose also in the future if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board comments?
Well, I would say we had just a short discussion before the meeting, and I explained to this gentleman that there was a good chance it was going to be denied right now. I think we can take a look at cleaning that lot up with our people at part of spring cleanup. And I'm not sure what we have in our ordinances for littering fines, that we can post some signs that indicate that there are fines for littering that area.
Thank you.
Hi, Scotty, Director of Planning. I was just talking with Brad Manick, who's acting city engineer right now. We'll go out and look at that dead end street, see if there's something we can bring back to the board and address Mr. Ramirez. I do understand his concerns, and that is a concern, obviously, of the board as well. So we'll go out there and look at that, at least try to do something with the dead end street. I'm not an engineer. I'm going to rely on Brad to make a recommendation.
Thank you.
In regards to the dead end street, I'm wondering if we could put up some blockades, at least to alleviate some of the through traffic for them.
That's something. Okay, anything else? Do we hear a motion?
Well, it sounds awfully negative, but motion to deny.
Second.
And then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is Nicole Barker, representing NICD, is requesting that Buffalo, Manhattan, Elston one-way streets be temporarily redesigned to be two-way streets between 10th and 11th Street, and between 11th Street and William Street for Manhattan and Buffalo, and between 11th and Green Street for Elston Street, starting, this was to start at 7 a.m. on April 6th through November 15th, 2022. I believe we went ahead with everything except Elston Street. Is that correct?
That's correct. And Brad Minnick is there to speak on our behalf. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Brad?
Good morning again. Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers, 5281 Fountain Drive, Crown Point. Took another look at Elston Street. It's 32 feet, as the exhibit shows you. I had a few different views looking now north and south. So that's adequate for the construction project, short-term conversion of that stretch road. So I don't see any issue with put traffic two ways on Elston Street as requested.
Thank you. Any public comments? Board comments? Mhm.
Yeah.
Good morning. Paul Przybylski, 1716 Washington Street, councilman representing Second Ward. This is one thing that I was going to talk about under public comment was 11th Street, and I am kind of glad that representing Nick is here. I don't really think that at this time that you need to do anything, because at this time that 11th Street to the west from Wabash Street is there's nothing been going on down there. It's just all blocked off. It's not ground up or anything. The residents could still be functioning on 11th Street on the south side. And I remember talking about, closing the whole street down because it was more efficient. Well, that street's still the asphalt's still there. So I think that you guys should table this or not act on it and ask NICTA to reopen the south side of the street so these people can have function on their neighborhood till they're ready to do the work. How long has it been since it's closed down? 2 months? I'm not sure of the time frame. That's what I'm asking you to do today. I'm glad that Mr. Menick is here. I have some questions for him because I asked him about some polls on 11. But on this particular item, I wish that you wouldn't do anything and reopen that street on the south side because nothing's going on over there. I mean, I've seen them. What I will say is I have seen, so you're aware of it because you're the Board of Works, dragging long sections of track down the center of 11th Street with no safety people at the intersections and holding up traffic. So, I mean, that's just a little tidbit. So, I wish that you guys would ask NICTA or the construction crew to reopen the south side of 11th from Wabash Street to back to past Ohio or up to Ohio at least. Thank you.
Well, just a quick comment. We haven't been able to grind any more of the street because when we had initially made the closure on the 28th, we got requested immediately to open up Buffalo, Elson, and Manhattan. So without being able to close those, that's why we haven't milled any further. So that's why the NICD design group has worked through the MOT to get this defined MOT done. And then once this goes into place, we'll continue milling the road out and continue with the reconstruction on the other side.
Brad, did you want to make a statement, please?
Again, Brad Menick, that pretty well sums it up what Kevin said. It's an incremental process. So when we came to the board at the last meeting with the request, that was for the next phase. And this will allow them, the Elston segment, as well as Buffalo and Manhattan, will allow them to move into the next phase and continue progress.
Thank you. Any board comments?
Just one. Mr. Menick and I had a little discussion after the last meeting. We just kicked around some thoughts on this. I measure the streets, 32 feet is exactly what they are. I know that you can get by with cars parked on each side, but it's pretty tight. If you've got two parked directly across from each other, somebody could lose a rearview mirror real easy. And I suggested parking on one side only, so you get maximum use out of the remainder of the 32 feet. But beyond that, at the north end of those streets, is there a plan when we close those to regulate some traffic, like no traffic north of this sign, so that if people do drive into that dead end, they don't have to fight traffic to be able to turn around and come back out?
Right. The plan calls for a 50-foot offset south of the track construction to allow traffic to turn around unimpeded by parked cars on the shoulders. So that's all part of the signage plan for the maintenance traffic for the construction.
Okay, that's 50. Is that 50 feet from the center line of the track?
No, from basically from the radius point on the curb return.
50 feet's not much, so that's fine there.
Yeah, they would have the full 32 feet width for that 50 foot
Plus
of length to turn around. That's correct. So,
all right, thank you. I just need to ask that question. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
And then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Barrett.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is Tommy Kalavic, 1316 Ohio Street, is requesting a four-way stop at the intersection of Ohio and William Street. This was also on our last meeting. There was a motion made to approve additional signage underneath the stop sign that was to read "Cross traffic does not stop." What's the status of that? Do we know?
I spoke with Mr. Smith just before the meeting, and he said this has been completed, so it can be taken off. There's also one other item that's not scheduled for today, but that's been completed too. If you want to address that.
All right, go ahead.
The crosswalk in front of the high school has also been completed.
Do we want to have a motion to remove that item as well as the current item on Ohio Street?
The crosswalk in front of the high school.
Every word of that, so I'm going to
Okay,
defer to.
first of all, in addition to,
Hey, this is Tommy Kolavic from 1316 Ohio Street. They put the traffic patterns along has really changed. Tommy Kolavic from 1316 Ohio Street. I think a lot of people's GPS are routing them down William Street as an alternative route. And I've had people come up to my stop sign and they've asked me, how do you get to Highway 12? And I've really, they put the do not cross traffic signs up. I think that'll help. I put in a Ring floodlight camera to monitor get all footage if there's any more accidents. So I just want to let you all know that. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, well, getting back to the item, the cross traffic does not stop. As Captain Leninski has indicated, those signs have been put up and we need a motion to remove this from our pending items list.
Motion to remove.
Second.
Okay. In addition, Captain mentioned another item that we had some signs and I think there were crosswalk installation in front of the high school. And he's asking that we remove that from our pending item list as well. Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, then I call for a vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Carrie McGinty, 225 Charles Street, is requesting to purchase property owned by the City of Michigan City, located behind their property at 932 West 6th Street. This was also set for status, and I imagine this is going to be the same.
No, so the board already has approved this one, but the problem is we're trying to locate the legal description. There's a problem with the legal description, and Sue Downs was working with real estate because the last deeds that were recorded do not have the legal description that's accurate. So we're trying to get accurate legal description on this parcel.
So
that's what the delay is, yes.
Yeah, we'll just leave this on the pending items list.
Yes.
Then. The next item on the agenda is Mason Refit, Northwest Indiana Lawn Care, doing business as Lawn Men Lawn Care. Address the board requesting a vendor peddler's license to go door to door. I understand from our previous meeting, we had asked for a proper certificate of insurance. I believe that one was submitted to you, but you had no time to review it at our last meeting.
It was submitted to me like a minute before the board meeting. I did review it. There were problems with it. I immediately notified the company on April 5th by virtue of an email with what needs to be amended. I had not heard from them. I sent another email last week. Again, I have not heard from them. So it's really the board's pleasure as to whether or not you want to keep it on for one more meeting or deny it at this point.
I'll make a motion. We keep it on for one more meeting.
Second.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. That concludes the unfinished business. The next is public comment. We have Terry Greetham, Director of Special Events, requesting approval of a 2-year contract between the City of Michigan City and Pyrotechnique Fireworks Incorporated on July 4th, 2022 at 9 p.m.
Good morning, Terry Greetham, Director of Events. This contract is, I'll apologize for bringing this so late. I had a lack of communication between myself and the mayor's office. This is a contract that does not come out of the special events budget. It's actually out of, I believe, the mayor's budget. I'm not sure exactly what that is called. So I had assumed that the contract had to be brought forward by the mayor's office, so that was my mistake. This contract is similar to it's basically the same exact contract that was signed in 2019, 2018, 2017. The company Pyrotechnico in the past was Melrose Pyrotechnics. Melrose Pyrotechnics was purchased by Pyrotechnico I had a conversation with Amber this morning, and I know there's some concerns, but we need to move forward as soon as possible so that Pyrotechnico has the opportunity to order the fireworks that are needed, because obviously with supply chain issues and so on going on right now, we need to be out in front of this a little bit further than what we would normally be.
So Terry did explain there is a time sensitivity on here. Due to that time sensitivity, what I'd recommend is the board approve this, subject to any changes I might make to insurance and receipt of the certificate of insurance. Because I haven't had an opportunity to deal with this vendor and making sure that all insurance is in place.
Thank you. Cost, what is the cost of this?
The cost for the fireworks, again, we're looking to sign a 2-year deal. We were receiving a significant discount. If we do a 1-year deal, the price was, I believe it was $36,500, whereas by signing a 2-year deal for 2022, the price would be $33,000, and for 2023, $33,600. So we are receiving the original. If we just do a 1-year deal, it's just over $35,000.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any board comment?
None other than I. So the new owner of Pyrotechnics, or whatever the name was, has no issue standing behind the previous commitment?
Correct.
First questions.
I'll make a motion, we approve pending the investigation of insurance by Amber.
Support.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is also Terry Greetham, Director of Special Events, requesting the approval of a contract between the City of Michigan City and Mrs. Crawford's Cruising Kitchen as a vendor for the Singing Sands Festival, June 3rd through 5th, 2022.
Yes, this was actually on the agenda for today, and I had to pull it at the last minute. And there were 2 reasons. Number one, we had just a small issue with the certificate of insurance that had to be corrected. The second reason for pulling this from the agenda was after multiple discussions with potential food vendors for the event, I'm finding that due to the extremely high cost of insurance at this time, many of the vendors were struggling to balance not only the cost of the insurance, but also the $400 fee that we were charging for the opportunity to be a vendor at the event. I spoke to Charlie Keene at General Insurance. He said at this time, just like most things, insurance is at an all-time high for an expense. So we have I don't want to say chased up, but we've had a lot of vendors that have said, look, we just can't justify the cost based on, especially it being a first-year event, not really knowing what they're going to make. Because of that, I went back and did a little bit of math, and I reduced the cost for a food vendor's spot from $400 to $200. That $200 will cover our expenses, providing them with power and water for the weekend, but we will not make any money off of the vendors themselves for the event. And I'm okay with that, especially for a first-time event, as long as we cover our expenses. We're not only running into this with the food vendors. The food vendors understand it a little bit more because they do this all over and they run into these insurance issues. Where we're really, really, really struggling is the cost of the insurance for our art, craft, and merchandise vendors. Most of these people basically just make enough money over a 3-day weekend with their arts, crafts, and merchandise to cover the expenses to be there. I spoke with a wonderful woman who said she does this for fun. The money she makes over the event just buys more materials so she can go to the next event. And just with the cost of insurance, people just aren't able to do it. So back to this is our first food vendor for the event, and hopefully not our last food vendor, or they're going to be very busy and make a lot of money. I do have a couple other food vendors on, but we're running into a significant challenge with the cost of insurance for all of our vendors right now.
Thank you for telling us that. Is there any public comment? Any board comments?
I'm just curious, the cost of insurance, are our coverage demands too high? Is that what is driving the cost? And should we look at reducing those? I don't know if we can or not.
What I'm finding out from the vendors, and again, this is feedback from the vendors, is that our requirements are higher than many other places. Now, being in events for 25 years, I certainly understand the need for insurance and the fact that we have to cover ourselves. But I do believe that we need to have a conversation with General Insurance, with Amber, and with possibly yourselves to sit down and really look this through and see if there's anything we can do. I don't want to put the city at risk in any way, shape, manner, or form, but I also am really challenged at getting people to want to participate in the events. I had a discussion with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, who puts on the Great Lakes Grand Prix, and they run into the same issue. So right now, our alcohol provider that we have a contract with now for the event notified me yesterday that there's a good chance he may need to pull out of the contract because the cost of insurance for him could be in excess of $3,000 for the 3-day weekend. With $3,000 plus paying the city $1,000, then going out and spending several $1,000s on product, he's $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in the hole before he even sells one beverage. So I would love to find an opportunity for us to sit down and see if there are any other way that we can do this to make it more inviting for our vendors. We're even running into this issue with our farmers market vendors. We have new farmers market vendors who are saying, I just can't spend $300 or $350 on insurance for the event. And so again, not something we're going to solve today, but certainly something I think we need to have a discussion about.
Just curious if $1 million policy is needed to sell flowers or your handmade crafts.
Again, I don't, unfortunately, I don't know enough. As much as I've been dealing with insurance over the past 10 months, I think I should be an expert, but I don't understand enough. And I think it is something we need to sit and have a strong conversation about to see if there's anything we can do to help these vendors. Because they want to participate. We want our events to be amazing.
So I feel like this conversation's like targeting me, right?
No.
So, I mean, I don't randomly pull things from the sky, okay? I just want everybody to know it's just not randomly trying to make life difficult. That's what I feel like. That's not my goal, is to randomly make life difficult. But when we do contracts, what I always do is I always go back to our insurance company. And what do you recommend? And what is in the best position to keep the city protected here? Because I mean, we pay considerable amount for liability in our claims. So there's a balance. But at the end of the day, it's the board's decision here. And if the board wants to reduce that, but by reducing it, you're increasing the city's exposure. So there's a give and take. So just so people know, I'm not randomly making life difficult.
And Amber, you know I'm not in any way, shape, or form targeting you, and I'm not targeting General Insurance. I understand the city has to cover themselves. I just hope that maybe enough people sitting in a room can sit down and think some things through, and maybe we can come up with an alternative or a different process. Please, if I made you feel, because we've had enough conversations.
I just felt like all eyes were on me.
Yeah,
right? And they were. Everybody's looking at me.
But back to, I know we had a point of order is getting this contract approved. Again, this contractor this food vendor, does participate in the Great Lakes Grand Prix. They're good people to work with, and I think they'll be a great addition to the event.
Thank you.
It's truly a valid point that Mr. Greetham has, and I would make a motion that we table this for one meeting, and because time is of the essence. You got to be planning. You got to get these people in place for these events. So, no.
So you're asking to table the approval of the contract?
Approve the contract.
Yeah, this contract is good. Her insurance has covered it. We're good on this contract. We just started a discussion about the insurance.
Approve this one, but we need to meet offline and address this issue immediately. So, motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vince.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Any other public comment? And any board comments? And I believe we have a comment from Mr. Vince.
Yes, I'm just anticipating issues and problems I've seen around the city as living here my life, and with all the work that Terry's doing and opening up our beachfront in the Washington Park area, we anticipate a lot of visitors this year. And we have Franklin Street Bridge, which is the primary that goes to Washington Park. I think I've heard estimates says 500,000 people to visit the park area. If that bridge goes down, we close the bridge in the open position. We don't close it in the down. So that would detour traffic around. And even when traffic is not detoured along Krieger, that's a busy road. It's a winding, hilly road with not much easement on either side. Any given time, you can find pedestrians walking to the beach or walking down to the park or zoo area with two cars in opposing traffic. If we close the bridge, we detour through that area, we're asking 500,000 cars to go through Krieger Ave. Everybody here has driven that. Everybody here has had close calls driving Krieger Ave, even when a detour wasn't on. So I just wanted to investigate and just ask the question, is there a way when the bridge is out and we're making that a detour to at least alleviate some traffic and give the pedestrians and oncoming traffic a fighting chance in making that a one-way? One-way, either it sounds like one-way north on Krieger to get to the park area, and then one-way south on Lake Street to come back out on Blaine as your detour. I don't know what that does for traffic patterns or if there's been any critical concern or if I'm just chicken lit on the sky is falling.
Thank you. This sounds like something that we probably ought to put on our pending items list.
Well, this is something that we have to discuss with the county because I'm not passing the buck, but legally the bridge is the county's responsibility. And it's becoming a heavy burden according to our county commissioners. I've received a call from Commissioner Rosinski asking if we would consider being part of it, and with their estimated cost of maintenance, $1.5 million a year, and I said we cannot afford that at this time. And they're looking at options, one of which is to take the bridge out, which is really concerning to me. So I think our next step is to engage with the county as soon as possible and talk about the future of that bridge.
I agree. And I know it's a county issue, but it becomes a city issue if the bridge is closed.
Absolutely.
And that's what I would like to address is the city issue portion, because we can't have a Singing Sands event, or we can't have a Labor Day or large events like that we're wanting to showcase our area and our beachfront by having people bringing boats in or family in and putting them in danger and getting them lost and confused with detours.
Well, my conversation with Commissioner Rosinski did not take place that long ago, and since then I just coincidentally had a conversation with an individual who works for a national painting contractor that paints these bridges. That he says it's very unique here that this bridge is a responsibility of the county to maintain, where he is every bridge that project he's been involved with on state or U.S. highways, the bridge was a responsibility of the state. This is the only time he has ever encountered it where the county had full financial responsibility for the bridge. So that's another avenue that we can, another issue that we can discuss with the county. Laws can be changed and sometimes they're created unnecessarily or unfairly, requirements. So yeah, I think we need to engage with the county and possibly the state as soon as possible.
Is there any public comment on this matter?
Paul Przybolinsky, 1716 Washington Street. I would like to make a comment because you got into talking not only about the one-way street, but then you're talking about the bridge issue on who's responsible for the maintenance. The street issue by Mr. Vincent, I think that you bring up a point that there's another way to alleviate traffic over there, but I think that you need to talk to Captain Lenensky about that and rerouting traffic in there, because one thing is that people are used to that two-way traffic on that road, coming in, coming out. So if you're going to do that for a long period of time, I will say this, that I never had a problem on that road, because I don't know right offhand the particular signage, but just being a resident of this long is that it's a very treacherous, negotiable hill and turn. So it could pose a safety hazard to people that aren't used to living in Michigan City, that use that day in, day out. So I think that, talking to Captain Lenensky, you could come up with a alternative route coming in, and maybe making that a one-way out to a couple of those side streets. But the whole thing is that you're going to increase traffic, and you're going to change that traffic pattern for that neighborhood. So is it the fact that you need, because you guys are going to talk about this, and I may not be able to make that meeting, but is signage the alternative? And some type of vivid signage that's lit with solar panels to make it safer. And having that street, the center line painted with the type of paint that illuminates in the evening or when there's lights on it. And I think it's a good point. And on the other point about bridge maintenance, I would just say the county has a bridge fund that's a levy on all of us in the county. I'd like to know what's in that fund. I can find out, but I'm not in favor of participating with maintenance of that bridge at all. There's a county bridge fund, and if they're going to have us pay into the levy, then pay additional. They've been knowing that bridge has been in need of repair for the last 15 years. And they could have been putting money on the side. And I don't care if it's more, whoever comes. This is the point, is that things are there, so you got to put money on the side. And I get back to the fact of this, is that people are screaming they don't have enough money. If money is properly allocated the way it's collected, you'll have money. It's just like running a business. It's just like running a household. And that's what people need to start doing. And I'm going to ask, since I'm at the mic, if after you get done discussing this topic, if you would allow me to speak, because I missed that public comment. Virginia, you're kind of, I didn't really hear it. You're talking very softly.
Okay, well, let's just finish this topic,
Right.
and then we'll have you
All
back.
right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Virginia.
Sure. Captain Lenensky, would you like to make any comment about this proposal?
I would just add that I did speak with Mr. Minnick and Mr. York before the meeting about this. Before we look at creating one-way streets in this area, I think we need to talk to the neighbors, and not only the neighbors, but the businesses, specifically Well McLean, whose large trucks use some of those streets that might make it more difficult for them to navigate if they are one-way. So I would just ask that maybe this be placed on the pending items list to give myself, Mr. Minnick, and Mr. York a chance to look at this.
Thank you.
Terry Greetham, Special Events. Not to extend this, but another thing to keep in mind, and I appreciate Mr. Vincent bringing this up. I would like to be involved in any of the conversations as we move forward, but if for some reason that bridge is shut down prior to the Great Lakes Grand Prix, in addition to the potentially 100,000 people that could come for that event over that weekend. This year, we're anticipating the largest number of race boats ever. We could hit over 70 race boats for that event. Those boats start coming in a week and a half or so in advance. We're going to be staging them at B&E Marina in their parking lot, but then now we've got to get them back around to the actual dry pits. And so you take 70 boats, and some of these boats are 72-foot semis, tractor trailer units that we're going to be hauling through some of these neighborhoods and so on. So again, I don't know what power we have as a city with the county as far as when they shut that down, but as bad as it would be for one of my events, Sand Festival or Oktoberfest, the Great Lakes Grand Prix, that would be a significant issue if we have to route 70 race boats through neighborhoods to try and get them down there. So.
Do I have a motion to put this on our pending items list?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. Paul, Mr. Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under public comment, I would like to talk about the utility pole issue on we're retiring utility poles. Whatever happened when I came in front of the board about utility poles that were being left up in the neighborhoods with one wire on them from the cable networks on getting those poles removed. It was on the item a year or maybe longer than a year ago. Whatever happened? Did we just dilute the item?
Mr. Wright was handling that?
Yes, at that time, Jeff Wright was our city engineer, and both Jeff Wright and myself had conversation with it about NICD or with NIPSCO, telling them we wanted them down, and they said they would take them down as they got the other services, telephone, television, cable, that stuff off of them. I know it hasn't happened. We just keep, you can only do so much with them. We have, I don't know who we have less control over, the railroads or NIPSCO. We didn't, your request didn't stay idle. It was not idle.
Okay, well, I don't think it has to do with NIPSCO. NIPSCO just rents them the pole. So what I'm thinking is that maybe someone needs to contact the representatives of our state and pass legislation, or who regulates them. I don't know, is it the federal government? Because I know under the Clinton administration, they changed the Federal Communications Act, and that took away the power of the city of Michigan City to regulate Comcast or the franchisee, which is Comcast is the franchisee. And that's who we collect our franchise fees from. So maybe we need to go to the feds on this, or somebody, to ask them to remove their wires, or, because I will say this, is that I had an issue, and it took took quite a while for Comcast to get my problem straightened out with my Wi-Fi. So I would just say that we need to look at what we need to do as a city on this issue, because it's come to light, and that if it's federal, we need to go to the federal regulators to give us some kind of authority back. So on talking about utility poles, I noticed a couple months ago that there were poles being placed on the sidewalks. Actually, the sidewalks being torn up and poles being placed in on 11th Street. And I called Mr. Minnick about it, and I asked him, I thought they were supposed to put a cantilever system in. I think that's the correct verbiage for it. and what the poles were being put in on the right-of-ways. And I really never saw, Mr. Minnick sent me a picture on text message, but I was concerned because these poles are being placed in there, if they're temporary or permanent or what they plan on doing with the right-of-ways, because now they have taken sidewalks out. And I thought that was a pedestrian right-of-way that's on the easement. And, I just would like to know, because you're talking about liability. Now they took the sidewalks out, sections of them. If somebody's walking down there because it's darker than dark at night, if they fall, who's going to be liable? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to be walking down there at night, but also my big item today is the police cars and the bid that was sent out for the police cars. Because I believe in transparency, and the way this thing was written, it was specifically written for a certain item. And that I believe that if you're going to bid on a product, that it should be open to all bidders. And that I believe that there should be an advertisement in the car for a bid package for all vendors. That means Ford, Chrysler, and GM products, not just one specific item. And I also got a question about these vehicles that are being cited on the bid, on these police pursuit packages, if they get a choice of engines. Because by no means do I think they need a 5.7 Hemi in those pursuit packages. There's other packages available on the motors. So I'm just saying is that we had an accident on Cool Spring Avenue, and a citizen was injured in that accident by the person that was being pursued. And I believe that we incurred during daylight hours, it was during the day, is that I thought this is 21st century and we got radios and all that, but I think that we should be looking at saving money and getting the best bid possible from the vendor that offers us the best, either a lease purchase or helping us finance them, because I know there's some good packages out there. I don't think that we should just keep it as one. So when they come in, I hope that you'll ask the police department to open this bid to all vendors. Thank you.
Madam Chair, in response to Councilman Przybylski's comments on the rental program of the police vehicles, I have no problem going back to that, but as I recall, when we made the change from purchasing to buying them, or purchasing them to leasing them, there aren't a lot of dealerships that offer a lease program. LaPorte County Chrysler, I learned about it from LaPorte. LaPorte has been leasing their police cars for years, and the numbers all look good. So we contacted them for a number, and we looked around, and there weren't many dealers. Now, I can't remember names. You can pin me down for a name, and I can't come up with one. But there aren't many dealerships that have programs to lease police cars. So but I'll return to that. We'll return to that and take a look at it and advise you.
Madam Chair, may I answer?
Please do.
I have investigated the issue when Sergeant Cooney was here, and there are programs out there by the major auto companies, and there's some good programs out there, very good, in that one thing that sticks in my mind is a lease to own. And I think that everything should be examined, because I think you should buy vehicles that are going to hold their value and not depreciate to zero. Because I will say this, if I'd have known today what I knew years ago, I would have been speaking bad about a certain vehicle that we own because of the way that you have to spend such a heck of a lot of money to fix the water pumps in them on those vehicles. So I believe that it needs to be investigated fully, and that I had contacted a vendor. I saw an ad, and I contacted a vendor, and Sergeant Cooley retired, and we were going to set up a meeting, and I did talk to Sergeant Cooley about it, and we were going to set up a meeting to bring the vendor in to see what they could offer for us. So that's why I bring it up.
Well, Councilman, I had no idea of your conversation with then Assistant Chief Cooney. Will you share the results of your search with me so that I can get into that?
Well, sure. I thought we were going to have, I would have been doing that. I thought we were going to have open bid. I thought we were going to have an open bid process on these police cars, so we could get something that was very, the best product for the money. And if I'd have known that, when I saw the solicitation for bids, how it was just, it was specially written. I mean, that's the only way to put it. It wasn't really a bid. It was like, it was written specifically for that product. That's all. Yeah, I'll share it with you right now. I'm
Okay.
transparent.
That's great.
It's GM.
Because the future starts right now. I mean, you know, if we made a mistake, we want to fix it.
I'm
And the
not
future
saying
starts
I
right
made a mistake. I'm just saying, I think that we should look at the big picture, because there's vehicles out there, and you need to look at them. You need to look at their efficiency and the whole ball of wax and what they offer. And I know that GM's got a product out there. They got like 5 or 6 different ways you can purchase their vehicles. And I'm not saying that it's just GM, but I believe, here's what I believe in. I work in an industry that's been devastated for years by unfair competition. So I believe that we should get everybody a fair shot. And I mean that sincerely, is that when I buy a vehicle, it's like I evaluate it. And that's how you learn things. And I do know that the 5.7s, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, they're fast. They're real fast. Really, really fast. And I'm saying, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Sorry. Sorry about that. I own a 5.7, and I just think that we don't need to worry about having fast police cars. We need to worry about having efficient police cars. That's all. And I shared it with you. It's GM, and we know what Ford offers, but, we need to be transparent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board comments?
I'd just like to let Councilman Prespolinski know that I shared your same thoughts and opinions when I saw the request come through. And I didn't understand why it was a specific brand. So I interviewed some police officers, and I asked them, and their preference is the one that is up for request. That's what at least the police officers I spoke to, that's what they would like. So just like the contract that we approved today to move on, we're looking out for our police officers. We're looking out for the people that are doing the job, and we want them to be comfortable, and we want to give them the equipment that they like, that they need, and that they can be comfortable in. And I believe I'll go back through the request form, but I think we're looking at V6s. I don't think we're looking at the 5.7s in the Durango for the patrol vehicles, the 11 patrol vehicles, but I'll double check that.
On your remarks, Mr. Vincent, is that really the thrust is that you should be buying the best product for the buck, not for what a certain individual or department wants. You should be buying the best vehicle for the buck. And if you don't examine it, you don't know if you're getting a good deal. Thank you.
Okay, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. This meeting is adjourned.